Are you ready to rewind? Take a nostalgia-filled ride back to a simpler time. It's Acid Wash Memories, a retro pop culture celebration. And now your hosts, Joe Murata and Michael Quinn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 25 of Acid Wash Memories, a retro pop culture celebration. Today we're talking about the chase for 62 home runs. I am Joe Murata, joined by, in the starting lineup, Michael Quinn. How you doing there, Michael?
Hiya.
Ready to play ball?
Let's play ball.
Let's play some ball, folks. Thank you for joining our game here today, if you will.
It's game time.
We have some stuff on deck to talk about. I'm going to stop with the puns now.
I'm sure that everyone's turned it off by this point.
If you're still with us, thank you very much. Maybe you need a relief pitcher. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being with us here for episode 25 of Acid Wash Memories. If this happens to be your first time joining us, we have 24 other episodes available. Where, Quinn?
In the archives.
In the archives. All different topics. Each week is something completely different. The one thing that it has in common is it's old.
Old crap.
That's what
old crap.
You coined that last week, right?
Crap.
Old crap. That's what we talk about here.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about it with us in the internet, you can do that at AWM Podcast on Twitter. Follow us there. And if you have a Facebook still, why don't you join our group? It's called Acid Wash Memories on Facebook. Join the group. We'll let you in, and then you can talk about the old crap with a bunch of other people.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about some old crap. Today we're talking about a time in 1998 in the world of baseball. Our first sports-related episode, as a matter of fact. Sports. Gotta have the sports.
Mike Francesa was riding high.
Oh, he was getting the sports anywhere that he could.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were both chasing after the Major League Baseball home run record.
The home run record in Major League Baseball is the one number that everybody knows from any sport.
And for any baseball fans out there, you would probably recognize this as a very memorable time. Whether you liked it or not, you would know it's memorable.
Yeah.
Quinn, you and I were both watching baseball in 1998.
Yeah.
For a little background here, Quinn and I are both Yankee fans. We're from New Jersey.
Yankee fans like ourselves.
Yes, Yankee fans like ourselves. Even we were invested, or at least I was. I don't want to speak for you. Were you?
Yeah, I was watching this. The Yankees were good, so this was kind of like a sideshow.
Icing on the cake, maybe?
Right, yeah. I was like, that. I'm like, nobody's paying attention to the Cubs or the Cardinals.
That's true. They were both kind of on the fringe of contendership at that point.
This was really helping them.
Yeah.
this home run chase.
It really was. And it was all over the baseball world, and it was actually crossed over into the pop culture for a period of time, especially in the summer of 1998.
62. Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard, official card of Major League Baseball and believer that records were made to be broken.
Those of you that are familiar with baseball, even on a cursory level, you probably know how this turned out. And we're not here to unravel a mystery. What we're here to do is recap why it mattered, what it did for baseball, and kind of shake up some memories that you might have had if you were watching in 1998. By the way, for those of you on the other side of the pond or down in Australia and New Zealand where you don't have baseball as commonly as we do.
Where you ask me what's baseball?
No, but what I will say, no. I would say to find the answer to that question, just kill a week of your life and watch Ken Burns' baseball.
It is a good documentary.
You'll find out.
It is played everywhere, in parks and playgrounds and prison yards.
Although it touches more on the weird how it plays into America.
Yeah.
Not like about the game.
Let me put it this way. If you've never seen Ken Burns baseball, it's very, the pace is very leisurely.
Oh, well, I mean, it's like anything Ken Burns, right? It's like you turn it on to do something else. It's like watching baseball, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. More like slow burn. But it is
Rick Burns is pretty good, though.
His brother's good.
Don't sleep on Rick.
I like the Byrne brothers.
Yeah.
They're fine. But it's a very comprehensive history of baseball. So if you're not interested in baseball, you're probably not interested in this episode. So we apologize for that. But hey, we're doing it because someone on the group not long ago brought it up. And not that we were taking requests specifically, but it was Connor McGrath, who's been a friend of ours from OVP, our other show, for a long time now. He mentioned it, and I saw that. I'm like, you know what, Quinn? That's a good idea.
It is.
Let's talk about baseball. So, Quinn, This is about the home run record. So naturally, I have to ask you, what's a record?
Well, a record it's usually in a book somewhere or written down. It's some number maybe, or some line to cross, maybe some speed to go, or an amount to hit a ball, perhaps, like this.
Like a home run.
Yeah, so in a home run, what's a home run, right?
Well, a home run, in baseball, you have the 3 bases and home plate. And a home run is any condition which makes for you where there's no error involved, where you go all around the bases and come home. Normally, this is accomplished by hitting it over the fence.
Right, but there's also inside the park home run.
They're very rare.
The rare.
They're rare.
Where you hit the ball and just everyone fails utterly to get the ball back to get you out.
And it does count. It does count as a home run.
He is on his way. This might happen. He's going to third. He's getting waved home. Sam Haggerty scores on an inside the park home run.
Now, the home run chase of 1998, it made for exciting baseball, even if you weren't a fan of the Cubs or Cardinals. I think we can both agree on that. I really felt like, because I loved 1998 for baseball because of the Yankees, I really feel like that added a lot, though, to the aura, to the mystique. It felt like baseball was back.
Yes.
That year.
Well, there'd been a downtime in the 90s, yes.
Which we will talk about. And home runs in general are probably the most exciting part of a ball game, maybe other than if someone steals home, which is very rare.
Or when you go to get a hot dog, that's really exciting.
That is, or maybe you use the toilet.
They use the facilities.
I've been in,
although not at old Yankee Stadium, that's not good.
I spent 3 innings, in an old Yankee
looking
Stadium
for one
bathroom.
that's acceptable.
Yeah, it's
at
not
the old
good.
one,
And it wasn't acceptable. It was just the best there was. But anyway, baseball obviously has been around since the 1800s, post-war, post-Civil War, that is. And we're not going to get too deep into the weeds.
It's as old as the Civil War, though. I think that's why. I think that's why America holds its records in such high esteem, because it's the oldest. It's thought of as the oldest sport or whatever.
And for a long period of time, it was known as the most popular sport in America. Football had since supplanted it. And baseball, the National League and the American League, they started at different times. The National League started first. That's why it's the senior circuit. And the first home run record in 1876 was held by George Hall of the Philadelphia Athletics.
Yeah, him.
And his total, Quinn? 5.
Wow.
It's 5
Well, you got to
taters.
start somewhere, right?
You got to start somewhere.
I always imagine that home runs were just not as common back in the olden times.
They weren't.
Because also the fields weren't regulated. Who the hell knows how far you had to hit it?
There was a lot of different rule changes that were implemented over time, and really the modern era of baseball is not considered to have started until 1901 when the American League joined, and then they had the World Series after that. But in 1884, Ned Williamson of the Chicago White Stockings, as they used to be known.
Not even socks yet?
No, they were still wearing stockings.
What year was this?
1884.
Yeah, until we get to the 1900s, the names aren't there
There's
yet.
Things, yeah. And he hit, though, 27 home runs.
20. Okay, that's pretty good,
That's
actually.
quite a leap.
That is a leap.
That's a leap.
Who's the guy who hit 6 the next year? Because I guarantee you that happened.
It probably did.
Every year they were breaking the record.
They were, exactly. But in 1919, as we get closer to the live ball era, which I'll explain shortly, a man who was also a pitcher, a star pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, and a very respected slugger starting around this time, named George Herman Ruth. For the Boston Red Sox, he hit 29 home runs. And Quinn, I might be going out on a limb here, but would you say that George Herman Ruth is the Babe Ruth of baseball?
Yeah, he's definitely the Babe Ruth of baseball.
Right?
Yeah.
If anyone's the Babe Ruth.
Yeah, if anyone's the Babe Ruth, it's Babe Ruth.
Right. So obviously you guys probably have heard the name Babe Ruth.
He's always... Okay, so with the joke, if you, again, across the pond, you're what the hell are they talking about? Right. The joke is always in every sport in America, who's the Babe Ruth of this sport, right?
Yeah.
Because Babe Ruth is the original Babe Ruth. Star athlete, unbeatable, why is he so good?
Larger than life of baseball.
He's just insanely talented at baseball. Also, he just doesn't look like it, which I always thought was funny.
Yeah, it was very good. He was one of the best pitchers of his time, too,
that's
for a period of time.
It's so in modern terms, Michael Jordan, right?
Wayne Gretzky
or something. Babe Ruth was this in the 20s.
Yeah,
right.
Literally.
His mighty bat was the magnet that drew the crowds. That bat, the terror of major league pitchers, had won him all that the nation could offer.
But he was so good that his records were hard to beat for like 50 years.
He had like a scoreless inning record for pitching that wasn't beaten until like much, much later.
Yeah, that's why it's like he's so like he's just ingrained, right?
Yeah.
He's like set in stone. It's like even if you break his records, it's not like people forget about Babe Ruth,
No,
right?
no
They're
one
like,
forgets.
He's kind of like if you want to be like a superstar, you got to break his records, right?
And he slugged 29 home runs there for the Red Sox of the American League. And I mentioned the live ball era. Now, this is generally regarded by the baseball smarty pants to have started around 1919, 1920.
What does this mean? I always get
I'll
confused
explain
with
it because
this.
it isn't very descriptive or intuitive. Up until around this time that we're talking about, there were a few things in terms of strategy that were played differently. There was a lot of emphasis on small ball tactics, which like Billy Martin would later bring back, like bunting
and stuff,
sacrifices, and squeezes, suicide squeeze and safety
So
squeeze.
people were just
like
trying to irk out runs. They weren't like trying to blow them out with home runs.
They were irking, Quinn.
Yeah.
Very irk.
Yeah.
So much irk.
Just barely getting this guy over the plate.
Exactly. But hey, a run is a run, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened is they started to make rule changes regarding the baseball itself. In 1910, it was changed from like a much harder, more durable ball to a corked center, and that allowed it to travel further, or so they say.
Well, that might help with the home run.
That might help. And another thing that they did is they started replacing the ball more frequently within the game because it would get very dirty, scuffed up, the trajectory would change when it was hit.
Well, this has to do, there was some incident, right, where the ball had gotten so scuffed up that somebody got like hit in the head because they didn't even like see it because it was a night game.
Yeah, and he got killed.
And they were like, oh, and then it just became a rule, like it has to change like every pitch. They were like, we're not taking that chance anymore.
Yep. And that's one of the things that they did. So the ball was easier to see. But also, the strategy just started to change. They started to move away from the small ball tactics and try to hit for power, try to hit the home runs. So it all kind of congregated, I guess, best word for it.
Converged. You meant converged.
Around 1920, under Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, which
this guy, I've always heard this guy's name. And
how do you forget it?
What was his? He was like a Civil War guy.
He might have been.
He was like something. He was like some kind of judge or something.
Honestly, with a name like that, he could be whatever he wants.
And it was like it was very honorary that they gave him baseball commissioner too.
Yeah, it
like
was.
He seems reputable
Right.
Because it was after the Black Sox incident. That's what they brought him
1919.
in. Yeah,
correct. And that was right
like,
around
we
this
got
time.
a judge now, so don't worry, it's on the up and up,
Yeah,
right? He's
exactly.
going to keep order around here.
The judges would never be corrupt. That never happens ever.
It's kind of funny that if you think about it, that this was like so outrageous, this fixing thing. Right?
Oh, the Black Sox scandal. Yeah, Shoeless Joe.
I know people like it is bad, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, people were acting like this was the end of the world or
it's
something.
a sport. Of
It's
course
just,
this is gonna
it's just a
happen
game
at some point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is just a game ultimately.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had mentioned that Babe Ruth was on the Boston Red Sox in 1919. However, he, of course, went to the New York Yankees in 1920. The Yankees at the time were still playing their home games at the Polo Grounds, which they were leasing from the New York Giants. And Babe Ruth, obviously, is one of the big reasons that the Yankees moved to their own stadium in the Bronx.
It was a draw.
Yeah, the house that Ruth built.
Put the butts in the seats.
Put those butts in the seats. And in his first year, in 1920 on the Yankees, he hit 54 home runs.
Yeah, there you go.
Talk about an improvement from 29.
I bet you that was like the best trade ever.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that regarded as the best trade ever?
I think the Red Sox might disagree with that.
I mean, he went from hitting 20-something to hitting 50-something the next year when he goes to the other team.
And in 1921, the following season, he hit 59 home runs.
Jeez.
And then finally, in a fantastic year for the Yankees, 1927, where they have Gehrig and a bunch of people.
Murderers Row.
See, you know what you're talking about, Quinn. He hit 60 home runs in 1927.
It's insane.
It was insane. No one had done it.
Although it was kind of just old hat for him. He's just hitting a couple more every year.
That's a good point. Yeah, it was just a gradual increase there. Now, it's well known, again, amongst baseball fanatics, that this was in a 154-game season. That was the amount of games that they played per season at the time, due to the number of teams and the number of times they would play each other.
Which is
162.
Right.
Now, that began in 1961. So, 1927, the record was set by Babe Ruth, 60 home runs, and it stood this whole time. That's 34 years later. In 1961, it was the first year of the new 162-game season. This was due to some expansion teams that had joined the leagues and they needed to play more games.
Minnesota has twins, and the whole state is celebrating.
On the New York Yankees, who were hot throughout the 40s and 50s, obviously, going into the 60s. Their star player was Mickey Mantle.
I don't give a shit about the hair. Let's get this over with, all right?
Sorry.
He was the successor in center field to the big star after Babe Ruth, Joltin' Joe DiMaggio.
I'm going to show you how to make the best cup of coffee you ever tasted in just seconds with Mr. Coffee Automatic Drip Coffee Maker.
These just happen to be Yankees, folks. I know there's other people, but this matters.
The record seems to revolve around the Yankees.
Right. That's the reason why we're talking about
this particular record, should we say.
This record. So Mickey Mantle was a great slugger and all around a five-tool player. But his teammate Roger Maris was also a very good player. He was a right fielder.
Like so many ball players, Roger Maris is a camel smoker. Even though he's only been smoking a few years, Maris says he's tried a lot of different cigarettes looking for what he wanted, but he stopped looking when he started smoking Camels.
Roger Maris had hit 39 home runs in 1960, and Mantle had hit 40.
Seems kind of like unfair that one team has two people that this
happened with the Yankees in 27.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Ruth and Gehrig.
Yeah.
As we get underway here and the season goes on, the 162-game season, Roger Maris had hit 59 home runs after the 154th game. Commissioner at the time, Ford Frick, there's another name.
Yeah,
they never have normal names.
Yeah, what was that guy? What was that guy?
Fay Vincent.
Fay Vincent. Yeah, that. What was the guy in the '90s too?
Bud Selig.
But yeah, like who are these? Where do they find these guys?
The names are great though.
What is it, like a prerequisite to have like a weird name?
It's never just like Pete Johnson. You know what I mean?
It's like, what is it now? Manfred or something? Like,
yeah, Rob Manfred. Yeah. But wasn't there also Happy Chandler?
Yeah, it's insane. I swear they just do this on purpose. Kennesaw Mountain Landis.
That's the best name ever.
Yeah.
One of our
just in the tradition of him, like you have to have like some name that doesn't sound conventional.
I would love it.
I mean, it's the same thing like in football with Paul Tagliabue.
Yeah.
That always like made me.
That's a chuckly name.
I was always like, why?
Now,
where do they find these people?
Listen, Ford Frick, you could say that he gave a frick about the record because he was a friend of Babe Ruth's. And he had said that there was going to be two separate records listed if Maris broke it after 154. There would be the 154 season record held by Babe Ruth and the 162 game season record held by Roger Maris.
Bull crap.
It kind of is. And
who cares?
Well, he gave a frick, like I said. Now, the thing about this is, and obviously we don't know this from experience, we weren't there in 61. I doubt anyone listening was, honestly, watching baseball in 61 and cognizant of it. But anyway, Roger Maris did not have the goodwill that Mickey Mantle did. You know, they were teammates. They weren't rivals. They were friends.
And we're sitting around talking around the pool, and Roger's telling me how great he was really an all-around athlete. He was a great football player in Fargo and baseball and basketball, and I guess he's a great swimmer. I can't even swim, but I told him I was the Oklahoma State champion and I'd like to race him across Turley's Pool.
But Mickey Mantle was the beloved Yankee. He had come up through the system.
He was the star, if you will.
Yeah, Roger Maris came in on a trade. He had only been there, I think, a year at that point.
Kind of like when, like in the modern standards, kind of like when the Yankees had Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
But like nobody really liked Alex Rodriguez, even though he's like kind of better at home runs and stuff.
All-around player, he probably was for
People
a long time.
We don't care. Derek Jeter was here first.
Exactly. And that was kind of the thing they ran into. Mickey Mantle was beloved. He had been there since 51. He played with Joe DiMaggio for a season. Roger Maris is this newcomer, and he's got an introverted personality. He's not the gee golly Oklahoma boy that Mickey Mantle was. So anyway, he was getting death threats.
Jeez.
He was. And there wasn't...
That's mean.
It's not nice. You're right.
It's just a game, folks.
It is just a game. Honestly.
It's just a game.
It's just a game, folks.
It's professional, but it's a professional game.
It is a game. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of public support for Roger Maris to break the record the way you would imagine that there would be. Plus, Babe Ruth was the one that held the record. So amongst Yankee fans, like, well, we love Babe Ruth.
It kind of hurts both ways, right? It's like now you got two guys on your own team breaking the record of another guy from your own team.
Right.
You're like, where do I go? Like, if you're a fan, like, what is happening?
I know.
What do I do?
It was pretty crazy. And Mickey Mantle I think he got injured or slightly injured towards the end of the season. He wound up finishing with 54. Still a very great number. But on the very last game of the 1961 season, October 1st, 61, Roger Maris, very fittingly against the Boston Red Sox.
The endless, like the Boston Red Sox always get the screw every time.
Until 2004 when they royally screwed us.
Yeah.
He hit his 61st record-breaking home run. There's two famous calls of this one. One of them is by Red Barber, who did the TV, and he sounds about as excited as a car wash.
There it is. $61,000, somebody.
And Phil Rizzuto was doing radio, and he was already an announcer by 61, since the late 50s.
That was around forever.
I know. His call is the most notable one. They're going to be dumped in here, obviously.
Here's the windup. Fastball hit deep to right. This could be it. Way back there. Holy cow, he did it. 61 for Mary. Look at him fight for that ball out there.
But they always superimpose his over the TV footage because Red Barber's like, there it is. And Phil Rizzuto, holy cow, doing the Phil Rizzuto bit.
Holy cow.
Yeah, holy cow. One way or another, Roger Maris hit 61 home runs in a 162-game season, and there was always this rumor that there was an asterisk, but there never was. It was just recognized as two different records.
This happens every time a record's broken.
They were very defensive about this one.
Everyone always is. They're always on the fan. It's like, dog, I don't know if this is real record.
Dog is a record. A record's a record. Whatever the case is. Anyway, as the 60s go on, something happened where we saw a rise in pitching dominance. And so much so that the average ERA drastically fell, which you want it to. Again, if you're not familiar with baseball, you want your ERA for pitchers to be low.
Yeah.
And it was common to see ERAs for the season under 3, which
is crazy.
Nowadays, if you're under 4, it's considered good.
Earned run average.
Right.
So,
it's the amount of runs that you're responsible for.
So pitchers were giving up under 3 runs on average.
Per game.
Yeah.
Per 9 innings. Home run totals were not approaching the 50s or 60s, definitely not, during the 1960s.
And this is like the era post-after, is like Nolan Ryan and stuff.
He would come in
in
the 60s.
Yeah.
And Bob Gibson. There were a lot of Sandy Koufax and Whitey Ford, a lot of dominant pitching.
Clearly this record wasn't being broken for a bit.
No.
Right?
And part of the thing that even baseball themselves, the leagues did, to try to increase the excitement and thus, generate ticket sales.
So that's it. So that's the thing I just want to point out to people is whenever we're in a pitching era, people are like,
yeah.
It's just so boring to watch.
As much as a baseball fan is going to appreciate the craft of a pitching duel.
They always say that, but then no one cares. The ratings go. I always when I was really deep, I was watching every game and all this, they'd always be like, oh, so, so much respect for the pitchers, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's bored and leaves. It's just no, nobody wants to watch that. Can we just take that veil off or whatever? I just, because it's obvious.
I like a pitcher's duel in a playoff game.
Yeah, in a playoff. I don't want that on regular.
July.
Yeah, in July. Who cares?
Right. You want to see home runs. It's more exciting than seeing a strikeout.
It's when all the average folk show up,
Right, and that's exactly what they're trying to get is the folk.
Yeah.
You want folk.
They want folk in there.
You want folk, right.
Folk.
So in 1968, in the offseason, after the 68 season, the strike zone was reduced because it had been to the bottom of the knees and the top of the shoulders.
So you can't get your strike so easy anymore.
And they lowered the pitcher's mound from 15 inches to 10 inches to try to give a little bit of an advantage. And the American League ramped it up with the introduction of the designated hitter rule in 1973.
What this does is give people financial incentive to become hitters, right? It's let's just find the best ones, right?
Yes, absolutely. And not only that, it also allows the American League teams to have an actual hitter in their lineup instead of the pitcher hitting.
See, I know people are against the DH or
the
purists or whatever, and it's always amusing to see the pitcher bat or whatever. But
it is fun, when Bartolo Colon hit a home run.
Yeah, it's stupid or whatever.
He was 48.
To the year, he drives one deep left field. That goes Upton back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened.
But at the same time, not everyone's Babe Ruth, okay?
No, only Babe Ruth is Babe Ruth.
Let's just be real here?
Just
it's like embarrassing.
You're not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to. It's embarrassing, right? You watch this, and this guy that is like wearing a coat comes up, and you're like, what is happening?
Chang Meng Wang like breaks his foot running the bases.
yeah. Sometimes they break something, and then you lose a pitcher for the whole season.
Yeah.
It's like, who wants this? Right?
I know. And if you're a National League no DH purist, we understand. It's okay.
No, and I get it.
It's
like,
okay.
It's like the original rules or whatever.
Yes.
But this always felt like an enhancement. You know what I mean? Like they're a refinement
a
or
feature, not a bug.
Yeah, not something to get all mad about.
Right. I agree. It's
like we're just taking the easy out of the game.
Exactly. Throughout the 70s, new stadiums popped up. Not great ones, the concrete donuts they call them, but a lot of AstroTurf.
Right.
And teams started building around pitching, which resulted in a rise of stolen bases, and the ball traveled faster on the AstroTurf stadium. So again, we're not really focusing on the home run. Although there were guys like Henry Aaron. You ever hear of Hank Aaron?
Yeah, him.
Willie Mays, another slugger, he hit 52 home runs in 1965. And for 35 years, no one even approached 50.
That's crazy.
Just to give you an idea of how tight this record was that Roger Maris had. Now, there were sluggers that hit in the 40s. Carl Yastrzemski, Harmon Killebrew, Mike Schmidt, Jim Rice, Jesse Barfield, just to name a few.
It was happening. It was just not the record.
Right. And in 1987, Quinn, those of you keeping track, 87, a rookie for the Oakland Athletics by the name of Mark McGwire hit 49 home runs in his rookie year.
Very impressive.
Very impressive. So who is Mark McGwire?
I don't know!
He was born in 1963 in Pomona, California, the son of a dentist, if you're curious. And he had played 18 games for the A's in 1986, but his first full year was 87. And he was part of a very exciting Oakland lineup for the late 80s, early 90s with Jose Canseco. They were the Bash brothers. They had Ricky Henderson for most of that. A lot of Bash. They had Dave Henderson also, Terry Steinbach. Great team.
But it's the Oakland A's, so everyone will just take all those players, right?
Well, eventually they did, but the A's were good. They were good, man.
It's like the reputation of the A's that
I know.
They'll find all these people, and then every team just picks them apart.
But
slowly.
they were one of the top teams.
Yeah.
And Mark McGwire, their first baseman, was an all-star for his rookie year, 87, straight through to 92. Rookie. And again, would later be an all-star from 95 to 2000. So Mark McGwire, we have that
Seems
benchmark.
like a talented man.
Yes, he does.
At the baseball.
And a good slugger at the baseball.
It's a new Oakland team record for home runs in a single season, breaking Reggie Jackson's record.
Meanwhile, in 1990, the Detroit Tigers' Cecil Fielder, finally somebody hits 51 home runs.
Thank goodness.
So as the 90s approach and people are starting to get beefier here, 51 home runs is
this beef factor seems
some
to be playing into
There's some beef
right?
in the 80s and 90s.
It's finally leveling the playing field.
It is, isn't it?
Pitchers are kind of dominating.
Yeah. And in 1993, Juan Gonzalez and Barry Bonds each hit 46 home runs. So we're getting there. And in 1994, there was a strike.
The moment finally came. Baseball has bowed out.
It was like a long-suffering friend who you knew was going to die, and while there was sadness in the passing, there was also a sense of relief as the fat lady has sung for this Kevorkian-esque baseball season.
This was, as a baseball fan, if you're interested, I was a Yankee fan since I was 5 years. 1990, 91, I started watching. They sucked ass. So I was not some kind of, they're good, so I'm going to watch.
I'd be like, this is so boring.
Right.
Like, they let's watch them lose.
You were in the same boat as me.
Yeah.
And so I was not a front runner. My dad's favorite team was the Yankees, so naturally mine was. Quinn with his grandmother, same type of thing. So the Yankees were pretty good in 93, but in 1994, so many great things were happening in baseball. It was a great year. But there was always this threat of a strike the whole year. For example, the Montreal Expos, who were an expansion team from the 70s and had never won anything, they held, at the time of the strike, the best record in baseball by far.
Yes. Here's the thing, though. It's like, I don't want to rain on that parade too much.
Don't rain.
But isn't it usually like down the stretch, like record, like whatever?
They were great.
I know they were great.
They were going to hold.
But who could say that, though, right? I mean,
it was them or Atlanta, but I mean, they were ahead of Atlanta.
Baseball's notorious for collapses at the closing stretch.
100%.
Right?
The Yankees had the best record in the AL. They were in first place for the first time since I'd been watching.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn of the Padres had a 394 average and was actually like threatening to hit 400, which no one had done in forever since Ted Williams.
And all of it didn't matter.
All of it didn't matter because on August 12th, 1994, after 114 games of the season, the players officially went on strike. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty, but the cause, as it always is related to money. Mm-hmm. It always is. It's not about manners or professionalism. Yeah. It's about money.
Also, like agreements and stuff.
The owners
with, like,
wanted
licensing stuff and shit.
Well, the MLBPA, yeah. But the owners wanted the salary cap implemented. It was a whole thing involving money.
Yeah.
And you could take whatever side you want. The bottom line is, after August 12th, 94, there was no baseball.
Now, wasn't this strike ultimately, like, while it was bad for baseball at the time, it was a positive for, like, the game in general?
Know.
Like, for, like, I just mean just in general getting, like, this money crap ironed out and stuff like that. It was a lot of stuff that had been kind of simmering for years and years and years.
I mean, it's possible. It did not do any favors in terms of goodwill, though, from the fans towards baseball for the first few years. You know?
It didn't. I'm just saying, as far as the players getting a little bit of a fairer shake.
I really don't know enough to answer that, truthfully. Yeah. I do know that the World Series and the playoffs were canceled for the first time since the beginning of the 1900s. I do know that Matt Williams of the San Francisco Giants had 43 home runs with 47 games left to play.
Right.
So he had a decent crack at hitting 60-something, crack at it. I also know that, amusingly, Dave Winfield was traded from the Twins to the Indians in the offseason for dinner because
only in baseball, Joe.
The trade.
Like that, that's part of my favorite part about baseball is that trades like there's no like. They could be for anything.
Yes.
Like, it's so weird. It's like the weirdest shit.
It's great because he was supposed to be traded for a player named later, which happens, you know what I mean? Where
they
it's
always say that.
Right. But because of the strike, the Indians executives took the Twins executives out, and to like settle the trade,
they go to Sizzler.
The Indians paid for the salad bar, I guess. Yeah, someone's prime rib.
Yeah.
Some jerk off's prime rib is what Winfield got traded for.
Real valuable player,
which he is.
I know, that's why it's funny.
He was old by then too.
Yeah.
Anyway. The strike continued on, and WWF gloated about this, which I just wanted to mention because Quinn had a very funny rant about it once.
So, I hate that they think they're baseball.
Our season never ends.
Yeah, shut up.
Fuck off.
The World Wrestling Federation. Our season never ends.
So finally, as spring happened, they did decide to finally settle this shit. Now, they had replacement players in spring training and things, and I remember, do you remember the replacement players? I remember seeing that on the news and watching the game, like, who the hell are these people?
Right, they were going to get scabs, right?
They did.
Some fans braved the weather to take part in this replacement game. The players on both sides about ready to go.
How long did this last?
Not very before they settled. But
it's like, who are these people?
So in the 1995 season, the strike was resolved on April 2nd, 95, and they reduced the schedule that year to 144 games.
Okay.
One of the things that happened, though, is the average attendance declined by 20% from the previous year.
Yikes.
And like I said, an overall loss of goodwill towards both the players and the owners. They were getting jeered. People were just bitching at them. They would go to the stands and throw shit. People were mad that their beloved national pastime was taken away from them in the midst of a very exciting 1994 season. But even with all that going on in 95, Albert Bell, who was a slugger for the Indians, he hit 50 home runs in a 144-game season.
Oh.
Albert Beef Bell.
The Beef.
The Bell Beefer. And the following year, in 1996, Mark McGwire of the Oakland Athletics.
Yes.
He hit 52 home runs.
Oh, we're inching.
In 1997, Mark McGwire hit 58 home runs.
Oh.
And I remember that because I was very into the home run hitters and sluggers. You know, like Tino was probably our best home run hitter in 97 that year.
A record, though.
No, he was hitting like 40 or something, 40-something. But, you know, we had at least one real true slugger. You know, when Strawberry was playing, he was okay.
I feel like 40's the generic, like, he did good number.
It's like the baseball. Curtis Granderson number.
Yeah, it's like, that's a lot of home runs. Like,
right.
but it's because it's like still 20 away from the record. Nobody really cares.
But like, no one's going to ever complain about 40.
It's like something they happily say in the playoffs. When you get to the, hey, that guy hit 40.
It's good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So Close for McGwire in 97, but no dice. But with the 1998 season getting underway, people were speculating about Mark McGwire, who, by the way, was traded to the Cardinals mid-season in 97, so now he switched leagues. Or Ken Griffey Jr. possibly breaking the record.
Interesting.
Yes, because Ken Griffey Jr.
Of Ken Griffey Jr. baseball fame.
A fantastic Super Nintendo game.
Yes.
He was born in 1969.
Nice.
And he was the son, believe it or not, of Ken Griffey Sr.
Yes, another ball player.
A very respected one, too, for Yankees and the Big Red Machine of the 70s. So Ken Griffey Jr., or Junior as he was known as, broke in 1989 at the age of 20. And what was great is they traded his dad to the Mariners in 90 and 91. So
they got to be on the same team.
Yes, and they played the outfield together. They even hit back-to-back home runs one time.
Cool.
Really cool.
Well hit to center field. Devon White going back. Gone! A two-run home run.
And he can still hit anybody's fastball.
And he hits one well to left center field. Dante Bichette. Back-to-back home runs.
What else can these guys do?
It's one of those rare, the son is just old enough to play and the father's kind of nearing the end of his career. It was a very rare situation.
Yeah, and it was really charming. And they were on the same team. I just thought it was great. But one thing about Ken Griffey Jr. is he quickly became a superstar. This wasn't, nepotism. You talk about 5-tool players.
Yeah. Plus, he just looked cool.
He looked cool. He looked 90s.
Yeah, he was very 90s.
He was 90s in a good way. He wore the backwards hat during batting practice and stuff. But he loved the game, and he was always smiling. He was having fun playing the game. Mm-hmm. But 5-tool player, Quinn, as we might want to explain for people that don't know, it's where you can hit for average, for power, you're fast, on base running. You have good throwing ability and just good overall fielding ability.
Yes.
And Ken Griffey Jr. was excellent at all of these.
Yeah.
Brave athletes challenge the notion that Kellogg's Frosted Flakes are just for kids.
I play for the Mariners, but deep down, I'm a Tiger fan.
Oh, go on. Frosted Flakes have the taste adults have grown to love. They're great.
He was the franchise of the Seattle Mariners, and they were an expansion team from the 70s as well. And he scored that winning run against the Yankees in the 1995 ALDS.
He also did in 1996 with Ken Griffey Jr.'s winning run baseball.
Yes.
Yes.
As much as I bemoan that, Mattingly's last game and the ALDS, the Yankees were up 2-0.
That did stink, right?
It really sucked, but got to give it to the kid. Got to give it to Seattle that year.
And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship.
He basically, it was known as saving baseball for Seattle, saving the Mariners,
Yeah.
And
the Mariners always were kind of a threat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
On the periphery, if nothing else.
They were sort of scary.
Yeah, in the 2000, when Lou Piniella managed them, I think it was.
Plus, Nintendo owned them or something, so it was this is weird.
It is real, it did.
Hence Ken Griffey Jr. baseball.
Of course. So, Ken Griffey Jr. and Mark McGwire were the two people thought to be possibly have a chance at breaking the home run record. But as we well know, a third face would enter the mix in the 1998 season. And we'll talk all about him and the home run chase of 1998 in just a second here. It's time for our 7th inning stretch.
Oh.
But we will be back with more Acid Wash Memories right after this.
I'm packed and I'm holding, I'm smiling, she living, she golden, she lives for me. Says she lives for me, ovation, who own motivation. She comes round and she goes down on me. And I make you smile like a drug for you. Do ever what you wanna do, coming over you. Keep on smiling what we go through. One stop to the rhythm that defines you.
You're watching Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week.
Batting next, Mark McGwire.
Where is it?
Did somebody say McDonald's? Oh, and you better make that to go.
It is a special pleasure for me to introduce our two home run kings for working families in America, Mike McGwire and Sammy Sosa of the White House.
Friday, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen come home to TGIF and a brand new comedy. From the producers of Full House comes Two of a Kind, ABC premiere Friday at 8, 7 Central.
If you loved Kevin James on Everybody Loves Raymond,
You're choking me!
then you know why we just had to give him his own show.
God, midlife crisis. I don't want one of those.
I do. I can't wait for mine. I'm going to get a Harley and a girl who's impressed by Harleys.
Kevin James is the King of Queens, coming this fall to CBS Monday.
Sammy Sosa.
And now we return to more acid-washed memories.
Hey, welcome back to Acid Wash Memories. Hi, we're here.
We're here. We're
Episode
back.
25.
I just got my peanuts and Cracker Jack.
Yeah. Do you care if we ever got back? We got back.
We did.
We're here. We hope you guys are enjoying this one. Here, we just figured we'd give you a little baseball talk. You know, we're both baseball fans.
Ball talk.
A little.
We disregard the bases around here.
Yes, a little ball talk.
Ball talk.
Hey, if you're enjoying our ball talk, why don't you go follow us on Twitter at AWM Podcast and be sure to join our group and talk about your balls with other fans of the ball talk.
The base variety. But
yeah, the base variety. But anyway, we're talking about the home run chase here of 1998. And where we left off is that Mark McGwire, who had hit 58 in 1997, was one of the contenders. And Ken Griffey Jr. had hit 56 in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
So both guys realistically, hey, things are happening.
They're beef.
There's a lot of stuff
Griffey
happening.
wasn't as beef. Like, he wasn't known for beef.
McGwire was very beef, though, by the mid-90s.
He was a beefy boy. That's what they called him sometimes, beefy boy.
The beefy boy, yeah. With that said here, the 1998 season gets underway, and by the end of May of 98, Mark McGwire already had 27 home runs.
Wow.
Ken Griffey Jr.
When was this? What month?
The end of May.
Oh, my goodness.
That's pretty freaking good.
The season just barely started.
I know. We're like not even near the All-Star break.
He hit his home run every game.
It seemed that way. And Griffey had 19, which is very, very good still for the end of May. But meanwhile, Sammy Sosa of the Chicago Cubs.
Now, who's this guy? I'm going to say this one, me asking who's this guy. I think a lot of people were asking, who the hell is this guy, right? Because he's on the Cubs. It's like nobody's.
Well, we're Yankee fans, so we don't.
I know, but the Cubs were like notorious losers at this point.
Well, they were. They had like Andre Dawson before this, but Ryan Sandberg. But yeah, I know what you mean. Sammy Sosa, by the way, had 13 entering June. So you got McGwire at 27, Griffey at 19, and Sammy Sosa with 13. And then in the month of June, he hit 20 home runs. In the month of June.
That'll put him in the conversation.
Absolutely. So who is he, though? Okay. Well, he was born in 1968 in the Dominican Republic, and he came up with the Rangers in 89, and the midseason was traded to the Chicago White Sox from 89 to 91. Then he went across town and went to the Cubs since 92. So the reason Quinn and I are not familiar with him is because he was in the National League since 92, and he wasn't a superstar. And really, interleague play had just started the year before.
This is new, yeah.
I knew McGwire, and I'm sure you did too, from the A's, because he was like a very notable guy that played against the Yankees.
I'd heard of him.
So if you weren't a National League fan, you might not have heard of Sammy Sosa.
Ball hit well toward left field and very high. Does it make the screen? It does. Home run for Sosa. It's 3-2 now. Sammy Sosa, first major league home run for the rookie.
You mentioned yesterday, only 20 years old for Sosa, one of the youngest players in the major leagues, and this is something that they think that he'll do quite a bit of as he gets older.
His career really got rolling in 1993 when he hit 33 home runs. He had a 300 average to close out the 1994 strike-shortened season. He also stole over 20 bases in a lot of those seasons, so he was a good player. Never won any awards, except number one in strikeouts in 97, if you want to count that. Career fourth all time in strikeouts.
Incredible.
Very good record. But by the end of June now of 1998, Sosa has tied Ken Griffey Jr., and they each have 33 home runs, and McGwire is leading barely with 37 home runs. Now, the end of June is just a tick before the All-Star break. Everyone here is on pace to break the record.
Right.
All three of them are on pace at this point. So fast forward to the end of August of 1998, Sosa and McGwire are at 55 each.
Jeez.
And Griffey with a very, very good, but Not enough, 47.
Wow.
So September is where it got really intense, and this is where throughout August and into September is where it really picked up steam, not just in the sports world, but everywhere.
Now, I remember now it started making like the news, and they started like, we interrupt your broadcast or whatever, like this shit's happening, like he might do it here, like blah, blah, blah. Like that's what it started to get fucking serious. They started like preempting shit for like a Cardinals game.
Yeah, they did at one point.
You'd be like, what?
The time had come for Sammy and Mac to reunite, this time in St. Louis.
It got very intense, and the MLB is doing this to make money, obviously. They're capitalizing on the interest here. Because, I mean, in terms of the American League, the Yankees were running away with the AL East.
The American League was like a foregone conclusion.
It was. The Yankees were by far the best team in baseball.
How many games the Yankees ended up winning? 118 or something?
114.
114? Yeah.
Which was a record for a few years. But September of 98, on the 5th of September, McGwire had 59 and Sosa had 57. And on that day, Sosa hit his 58th.
To Sosa, and he hits it deep to right field. It is gone. Number 58 for slamming Sammy Sosa.
And that same day, Mark McGwire became the first person in 37 years to hit 60 home runs.
Finally.
So he has tied
done.
Ruth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Into left field. They can't say it anymore. 60.
Finally, we're even approaching.
We're in that territory now.
Would you say we're in the ballpark?
Mm-hmm.
Stop.
You could.
I would say so.
You'd be accurate.
Yeah.
I said stop.
So McGwire's the big favorite here, right? But you got Sammy Sosa chasing.
Right behind him. Which,
by the way, can I just say how eerily similar this is to Maris
and Mantle?
Yeah. Like how?
It is interesting that it wasn't just McGwire by himself going after the record.
Do you think, a record like this, maybe if somebody's close-ish, they might more intentionally try to hit home runs and stop trying to hit singles and shit?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Right? It starts to become they're just looking for bombs.
Absolutely.
Because they know I could chase that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like
1,000,000%. Besides, I mean, the Cardinals were, again, they could have still been contenders. It's not like McGwire's going to blow games to try to hit home runs. I get that. But the Cards were not going to. No, they just weren't going to.
To be fair, notice both of these teams were not in the running really. So
Cubs were trying to be.
So I feel like it gave an opportunity to both these guys. Their managers could probably say, like, just go.
Because the stakes are a little lower.
Just go out there and hit homers and bring people into the park.
On September 7th, 1998, Mark McGwire tied Roger Maris for 61 home runs.
There goes number 61. Is it there? Yes! And McGwire is alone with Roger Maris.
The very next day, September 8th, 1998, which, by the way, what Quinn was alluding to is Fox, who typically would only really be covering weekend games, and I believe this was a Tuesday, which is weird, but they'd be covering weekend games, usually like the top division rivals that were, and I guess the Cubs and Cardinals will qualify, major markets, Yankees, Red Sox, blah, blah, blah. And they wanted this game, and Mark McGwire, with Joe Buck on the call, hits number 62 and breaks the record.
It's crazy.
It's amazing the serendipity of this, Quinn, because if I didn't know better, you'd think this was written by Hollywood. McGwire and Sosa both playing each other in the game where McGwire breaks the record.
I remember that, yeah.
Sosa runs in from the outfield and hugs McGwire.
The congrats, yeah.
The whole game stops down. Everyone is applauding Mark McGwire for doing something that had not been even remotely touched since 1961.
What's interesting, too, is so he does this, right? And everyone, congrats. There's still more games. They could go higher. Sammy Sosa could get back on top.
He could still win the race. He could still be the record
still
holder.
In it, right?
And he himself hit 62 on September 13th.
There you go. Now Sammy Sosa's, he's beaten the record.
Right.
The 2-1. Swung on, there she goes. Number 62. Move over, Big Mac. You got company.
And they battled closely throughout September, and Sosa winds up hitting a wall at 66 home runs.
Now, did Sosa ever hold a lead for a day or anything in this race?
If he did, it was literally for a day,
right,
or something like that. It was very brief.
I mean, after they exceeded 62.
I think so, but it might have been for like a day, like a game or two. But he ends the season with 66, which is a shit ton of home runs, right? I mean, come on. McGwire continued on, and he hit number 69 and 70 in the same game.
It's crazy.
Against the Expos on September 27th.
Now, once again, losers.
Right. And Joe Buck was calling this because he was the Cardinals announcer.
Your favorite.
At the time. I don't mind him now. I used to hate him, but I
used to have such a
I have a greater respect for him now.
with Joe Buck.
I like him now. But if you ever want to hear Joe Buck with emotion in his voice prior to the 2010s, listen to his call for number 70 for McGwire. You're going to have to, because I'm going to dump it in here.
First and third, 2 out. Into the field! Number 70! How much more can you give us, Big Mac? Number 70!
So Mark McGwire not only breaks the record, he breaks it by 9 home runs.
Crazy.
70!
Right.
I don't think anyone predicted that going in here. Maybe 63,
The fact that he broke it by this much, right?
Yes,
I
Quinn.
already remember people starting to, ask questions and,
oh yeah,
is this on the up and up? But blah, blah. It was already brewing because people couldn't take it that, we broke it by this much, right?
Well, that's the thing, is this was already being mentioned throughout the season.
Right.
Is he on the steroids?
The S word?
Is he on creatine? Like, what is this guy doing?
Or some other substance that nobody's ever heard of.
Right. And of course,
Stacker 2. I don't know.
Stacker 2, maybe even Stacker 1.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Yeah, Stacker 1.0 because it was before Stacker 2.
Now you're talking. Stacker 2. It's the world's strongest fat burner. Capiche?
We'll come back to that point there, but yes, that was definitely in the air. Stacker 2.
God, remember that stuff?
I
They
certainly
wouldn't
do.
Shut up about it.
Now, did Stacker 3 ever come out? Is what I want to know.
It must have, right? How do you make Stacker 2 and not make Stacker 3?
You got to follow it up. But 1998, in general, what a season for baseball. Not only did we have the home run chase, David Wells threw a perfect game while hungover. Kerry Wood struck out 20, which is tied the record. The Yankees swept everyone in the playoffs, 140 games, won the World Series.
Winningest team ever.
Yeah, until like 01.
What's crazy is that the league is vast enough that all these things could happen in one season. Like that one team could win this so many, like more games than ever.
Yes.
Some two guys can be
both
breaking the home record.
Yeah.
You got strikeout records and all this bullshit, right?
Not only that,
perfect game
from Wells.
What is even happening right now?
It was a hell of a season. The debut of the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time, the two new expansion teams, that was that year. And Cal Ripken took himself out of the lineup and ended his
God, that was this
streak.
Season 2?
Ended the streak, yeah. Not broke the streak.
Which, if you're like the streak, what streak?
Undertaker,
right? No. This streak, he played more games in a row than anyone. Like he never took a day off.
Yes, he never missed a game. He broke
obviously
Lou
the
Gehrig's.
off season, but
that doesn't count.
Yeah. Well, it confused me as a kid. I was like, what was he playing during the off season? How did he get this many games? Like,
you would think that.
Yeah.
For all of this home run chase, though, in case you were curious, the Cardinals finished third in the NL Central, and their division rival, the Cubs, finished second and wild card, and would be swept by Atlanta in the NLDS. So, sorry, Sammy.
Welcome to the Cubs reality.
Yeah, exactly. But the impact of this, like we said, was wider than just baseball for a brief period of time. But it really, Quinn, the reason I have such a fondness for it is because it was so exciting and it felt like summer to a kid.
Yeah, it was really good.
It just felt like something to get invested in. I mean, it was all over the news. It was parodied on Saturday Night Live.
It was something like, you'd screw around outside and then you come in and you watch this thing go on. And, I always liked how it was like meteoric. Like it kind of was happening Like, slowly throughout the whole summer.
Yeah.
Right? And then it crescendoed in the Fox, where we got the game, right? It's on, baby. Like, national. It's everywhere.
Got the scoop. Yeah.
We got the hot scoop here, and everyone gather around your TVs. Like, everyone was there. Like,
but it couldn't have been written better than that, right?
Yeah.
Fox gets the primetime national game.
Who wasn't watching this crap?
I don't know, man.
It was like everyone was watching that game.
Non-baseball fans is probably about it, right?
Yeah.
But I even bet a lot of non-baseball fans were watching.
And it was on the news. It was on it wasn't just ESPN. It was like everything.
And I love the fact that McGwire and Sosa were cordial and friendly and joked around, and it was very good-natured.
Also, I think that spoke to like how he said they weren't really in contention for anything.
I guess that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like,
they weren't.
At that point, it's just a friendly, like, let's see who can hit the most.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just good for baseball in general. It did a lot to revive some of the goodwill, not all of it.
So baseball regards this season, right, as like saving the league or something.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say.
Like this was it. We were going to close down Major League Baseball. We're just going to give up, and that was going to be it.
Sure.
Yeah, and all the stadiums. We'll sell them to Vince McMahon. Whatever. Right? Like we'll just get rid of all of this.
Oh yeah. We'll just close it all down.
We'll just because it's not doing good anymore.
These guys will find jobs.
Right.
Obviously, we're being facetious.
Yeah. I feel like that's happened before in baseball. Wasn't it like really bad in like at some point in the late 60s or something?
Well, there was a strike in 81.
Right.
That wasn't good.
Yeah, I'm talking, but wasn't it like they couldn't even like sell tickets to Yankee Stadium or some crap?
Well, the Yankees sucked
they were
ass
so bad.
When CBS bought them, and your friend Mike Burke, the president of CBS with the hair.
Weird hair guy.
The villain hair.
Yeah. Whenever you get bought by a weird corporation, your team doesn't do as good. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They were like, they didn't
Unless you're the Mariners with Nintendo, that helped them.
They're good at making games.
Remember, they got Ichiro because of that, I think. I swear it was like helpful.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room, which Quinn alluded to, was the whole steroid aspect of it. Now, for those of you not aware, anabolic steroids and such are banned in baseball, and were banned in baseball.
Right. They were officially banned what year? Was it like the 80s?
I don't know. Probably the 80s, 88.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
It was 1991.
It wasn't like an extreme testing regimen or anything, clearly, because people were just doing it anyway.
No, and listen, we're not here to do whatever you think of steroids, if people should take them and it doesn't matter. I didn't care as a kid.
Nobody cared. In 1998, nobody gave a shit.
Cared.
Baseball was just fun as hell. Like, it was like, why are we going to rain on the parade, right?
Right. Now, if you want to take that as one point and say, well, fine, but the steroid users shouldn't have the Hall of Fame eligible, whatever. I'm not going to get involved in that debate. I don't give a shit, to be completely honest.
My only thing with
I don't care enough.
I'll say my only piece with that is like, I know they like to make a big deal about the Hall of Fame, but ultimately it's just like a plaque in a town that like people only go to see the Hall of Fame.
Well,
like, it's not.
You get to give a speech.
Neat.
Outside.
And then you always forget. Like, nobody they try to bring up the speech and like nobody cares. It's some between innings, like we're wasting time thing.
You know the best one I've ever seen?
What?
Bob Uecker.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's like stand-up comedy.
I signed a very modest $3,000 bonus with the Braves in Milwaukee, which I'm sure a lot of you know. And my old man didn't have that kind of money to put out. But the Braves took it.
Look it up on YouTube, folks.
I just don't care anymore. Like, at first I was like, oh, these people shouldn't get in. And then after a while I was like, but it was really fun. They brought something to baseball.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The argument against, or the argument for them going in and stuff like that is, well, weren't the pitchers doing steroids too?
Yeah, everyone was. Get out of here.
And then the counter argument is, well, some people weren't, and it's not fair to them. That's why I don't get involved. I don't know. Whatever. I want my team to win.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I'm not saying they should. I'm saying that, like, it was a long time ago. Who gives a shit?
Well, I know. But Jose Canseco really stirred the shit on this with his book, Juiced, which came out in 2005.
A Jose Canseco bat? Tell me, you didn't pay money for this.
And, of course, Jose Canseco, who knew Mark McGwire, who played with Mark McGwire for many, many years, he said McGwire did the steroids. And McGwire denied and denied and denied.
Which was silly because everyone knew.
Yeah. And finally, in 2010, he said that he did steroids.
I mean, look at him. Yeah. Come on.
And Sosa denied and denied and denied.
Yeah.
All of this, ultimately, very interestingly, became somewhat of a moot point. McGwire, to follow it up here, in 1999, hit 65 home runs, which no one ever mentions because it wasn't the record. But just to think that 2 seasons in a row he topped 61, you know, 2 years in a row. But moot point in the sense that in 2001, only 3 years after McGwire broke the record, which had stood for 37 years, the San Francisco Giants' Barry Bonds,
who's been kicking around hitting tons of home runs for years anyway. It's not like it was like normal for him to hit well over 40.
He would hit in the 40s, yeah. A 5-tool player during a period of time. Another player that I knew the name but never really saw him because he played in the National League, and I was a Yankee fan. But he had 73 home runs in 2001.
There's a high drive deep into right center field to the big part of the ballpark. Number 71, and what a shot over the 421-foot marker.
You know, it was weird because I remember this happening, and I remember not caring.
Yeah.
Because it had only been 3 years. And it was also like after 9/11, so like it was an odd time for baseball.
Right. It also,
because everyone was doing steroids and juiced.
That and just Barry Bonds was like insane. Like he would just always hit a ton of home runs. It was like it felt to me like I didn't follow Barry Bonds, but I knew of him and I knew that he hit a million home runs every season.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay, so like eventually he's just going to do it, right?
Kind of like how McGwire did it.
Yeah, exactly. But Mark McGwire felt like, because of the strike and everything, Joe, he felt out of nowhere for some reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I always thought it'd be Griffey.
Right. But Barry Bonds, on the other hand, he was always hitting a lot of home runs and everyone knew who he was. So like you said, everyone's like, it just didn't matter, right?
It just, and Barry Bonds, not a beloved player. Not that McGwire was a beloved player either, but he was respected. Barry Bonds was not particularly beloved by the media.
Well, because the media, they picked on him more than I feel like anybody over steroids, right? Like he definitely got the brunt, even though all these other guys were doing it. Like they always were like, see. Like, it was always him. I don't know, like, how fair or unfair that is, whatever, but...
That's, again, I don't get involved in that.
Right,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? I just watch the games.
But the point is that, like you said, it didn't feel as special because he always did that.
Yeah, and also, it wasn't this, 37-year record that previously was a 34-year record from Ruth to Maris. Now it's 3 years later.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, didn't we just do this? You know? For the record, that same year, Sammy Sosa hit 64 home runs.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, these guys were just hitting bombs.
Bombs. And then there was, the steroid stuff and the Balco scandal and Major League Baseball with the new drug testing and a lot of guys getting busted for testing positive on certain substances. And the home run total started to settle back down into a realistic level in the 50s, 40s.
Yeah, 40. I feel like I said before, 40 felt like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Like A-Rod would hit 57, 52, whatever, stuff like that.
A-Rod wanted that record so bad.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That guy had an ego.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think he saw himself holding the season record, the all-time, your lifetime record.
He had a good shot at the lifetime.
Yeah.
He did have a good crack at it.
But he kept... he was the one guy who was he would always get caught for steroids and he would just always wiggle out of it,
Couldn't get it out of his own way, though,
or take the suspension.
He took a suspension.
He took a suspension once.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't give a shit. He would just keep going.
I remember that one time out of nowhere, midseason, is like, okay, I'm going to retire now.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
That was weird. Yeah.
And everyone's like, really? And
yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay. It was very out of nowhere.
He was the only guy that I felt post Bonds was a threat. Right?
No, there've been a bunch, but yeah, in terms of really good players.
It's because he had the established, he'd already hit a ton, so he could break the lifetime record.
Who else was up there? Was Vlad Guerrero up there, maybe?
Yeah.
There was a bunch of Pujols was up there.
Yeah.
Pujol. But anyway, the only person to even top 60 home runs since 2001 was Aaron Judge last year, 2022.
Yeah.
Ironically.
Now we're fully settled into the okay, they really test you for this shit now.
Yeah.
So it feels pure or whatever. There was people I remember when that was happening, people saying, oh, this is the real one or whatever.
Aaron Judge.
Because now they test.
And incidentally, he hit 62.
Right.
Which is very funny. But one way or another, this chase specifically sticks with a lot of baseball fans because of, I guess, the short-term impact of just making it fun and making it exciting during the time.
Yeah, it was, like we said, it was it wasn't the only thing that season. I think that's why it was so awesome.
It
on top
added
of
to it, yeah.
Right? It was like an interlude in the middle, like in the near end middle, sort of like I felt like the center of the season, right?
But
that was like, oh, it's time for the home run record now, right? Because everything's a record.
But if you're like a casual pop culture, participant in 1998, think about the landscape of the time and how many things were hot and popular. Conan O'Brien, South Park, Howard Stern, Springer, MTV, right?
Wrestling
was huge in 98.
And baseball.
And even
like basketball was cool. Like I feel like sports in general were awesome.
It was just one of those great banner years for like sports and pop culture and everything else, like music, good albums came out in 98. And for whatever reason,
1998 could be its own topic.
It could. 1998 in pop culture was just one of those times where, God,
this was just an aspect of it, right?
The Lewinsky scandal.
I mean, it was getting settled in
Clinton got
Congress.
impeached. There was all sorts of things going on, but
that shit went on forever.
That was
like
for a
that.
long
I
time,
felt like
man.
they built that up for like 2 years.
It's a long, long time.
Yeah,
but so much went on, and this, I guess, just it rode the wave, or it was part of the crest of the wave. But it also, 98 was very, very good for baseball attendance. In 1993, the year before the strike, the total attendance across the MLB was 70 million. 1994, 50. Now, that's because it was shortened. 1995, 50. 1996, 60. 97, 62. 98, back to 70.
So they recovered.
99, 70.
Right.
So it really did help in a tangible way, not only with
that's the number they care about, the attendance,
the
right?
money. Yeah, of course,
Because, as much as TV deals are important, you're making gate money, right? It's like
Nice
that is,
gate.
seriously though,
Yes.
what you make at the park, that's their bread and butter.
Yeah,
right?
it literally is, yeah. And the TV is part of that.
The TV's just gravy on top
gravy,
of it.
it's a good point, on the cake. It's a savory cake.
Yes. Gravy on a cake?
Savory cake. Butter on bread.
Butter on bread?
Anyway, we didn't talk about this. When you were watching in 98, did you care who broke the record first?
I think I was more McGwire because I felt like Sosa was like late comer.
So you weren't okay, because he was like the underdog.
Right, but I was like, my family and just me in general, I felt like invested in Mark McGwire by that point. Like I was like, when Sosa started chasing, I was like, what?
Who's this guy?
Who's this guy, right? Where did he come from? I never heard of him.
Right.
Right?
I think that was it for me, too. I didn't like McGwire. I mean...
I didn't think he was like... I mean? He wasn't like my favorite
really
baseball player. I like
him.
Derek Jeter.
Well,
I was like... I was like, I don't... but as far as like that was concerned...
You wanted McGwire to break it?
I was like, I don't know. McGwire was like... It felt like it was his by that point. And Sammy Sosa was like chasing him, right? And
I kind of liked it, though.
It was cool. Yeah, no, it wasn't...
But you wanted McGwire to win.
But I was kind of like... he's like the original or whatever in this situation, right? It's like...
The guy that really got the shaft in all of this is Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, he did. But then again, I felt like Ken Griffey Jr.'s prize was like, we knew who he was more than anybody.
We already knew him.
He was like an actual star because video games and stuff.
He was an actual star. Merchandising, he was everywhere. I mean, he was
That's why I was like, does Ken Griffey Jr. need this? Like, really? Like,
well...
it's like I mean, it's a testament to Ken Griffey Jr. that when I watch a baseball game, I'm humming to myself, like that stupid song. Yeah.
Oh, come on!
Oh, come on!
Oh, come on!
Yeah, I don't know if I really cared who won. I just wanted the record to get broken. I do remember that. I know I wanted it to get broken, despite it being held by a Yankee. I didn't watch Roger Maris. I didn't give a shit. I
had no connection to them, other than people were like, they were good when I was young.
Right.
Like,
I'm sure they were. I just wanted to see history made in my lifetime as a kid. I had wanted to.
I think that's what we all wanted. We just wanted to see it done so we could say, hey, we saw that or whatever. The selfish.
But that's what it is, right? Isn't that why most people will be captivated by it?
Right, yeah. They just want to be part of history.
You want to be part of history.
And say, I was alive when that happened.
Exactly, and I saw that happen, and here's my story about it. But yeah, I mean, what an exciting time. Mm-hmm. I really think it was. And I do
think it's the most 90s weird memory that the biggest takeaway as far as remembering it goes is it was on Fox. I don't know why that always stuck with me.
Joe Buck here.
Joe Buck here. We're going to see if he breaks it. It's like,
and he broke it.
Yeah,
he did break it. Do you think that if that were to happen today, in 2023, would anyone care the way they did in 98, 25 years ago?
I wouldn't care as much only because I saw it already. I guess this happened.
That's true.
And that's what I wonder is was it a bigger deal for people still alive from Mickey Mantle's time? Was this
maybe
maybe they were older and they didn't follow baseball anymore either, and they're like, oh, I don't even know who these people are. They're asking, is Nolan Ryan going to be pitching? You know what I mean? They're asking those questions while they're watching this.
Is Nolan Ryan going to be pitching?
Right, but I'm saying
is Goose Gossage in?
Yeah, but we're now getting old enough where all the people we grew up with, they're gone. Right? I think they're all gone now officially.
You mean retired?
Retired,
you don't mean dead?
No, I mean just not playing baseball.
Sure.
So when I watch baseball, and I hate to say it, but I watch it and I'm like, who are these people?
Well, I think part of that has to do with being older than the players.
Right, that's another aspect. I'm like, who?
Who's this kid?
Yeah.
That was born in 2000.
Is Derek Jeter coming out? What's going on here?
Never again.
Where's Mariano Rivera?
Isn't Jeter going to be a Fox announcer now or something?
That's weird. I don't like that.
Remember A-Rod did it for ESPN?
He should be on the field.
No,
in my mind. And I think that's how people feel as they age with baseball. Is that you grow up with a set of players that play for 20 years, all your life, and then they're gone and you don't know what to do.
You have to get used to the new ones. It's hard sometimes. It really is. Anyway, folks, as we pontificate on baseball here, we don't know when we'll talk about baseball again, but allow us the leeway. What we do want to do is hear from you guys. Were you watching baseball? Have you ever watched baseball? If you
have you ever watched baseball?
If you have and you were watching in 1998, let us know what your thoughts are on Sosa, on McGwire. Do you care about steroids or not? Like I said, I don't know the ins and outs. It doesn't affect me as a viewer. Mm-hmm. And I'm not on the Hall of Fame committee.
Yeah.
So really, it doesn't matter what I think. You know what I'm saying?
Here's what I think. It was good. So they should say, that was good.
Yes, I think so. And folks,
it revitalized baseball.
It did. It did help.
They can't argue with the numbers in that sense.
The numbers don't lie.
I think that's why they're always wishy-washy on it, because they know there's people who remember this and we can make money off that.
It saved their ass.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a season across the league.
Yeah.
Across both leagues. Folks, we hope you think that we knocked it out of the park on this one.
Yeah.
So please be sure to follow us on Twitter at AWM Podcast and join our Facebook group. Be part of the discussion about the old crap. And this is 25 years ago. This is a long time now, Quinn.
It scares me that it's that long.
Quarter of a century, Michael Quinn.
What is time?
What is time?
Yeah.
I don't know, folks, but I do know that in 1 week's time, we will be back for something completely different. Don't you worry. Until that time, be sure to follow us like we said. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or your app of choice. But until next time, this is Joe Morata. That is Michael Quinn. Strike 3. We're out of here.
See ya.
Like what you heard? Be sure to leave a review and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We will see you next week.